Hello, everyone. This is Adlan Fella, Chief Analyst at Maravidis Research. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome two distinguished guests at the show here. We have Lou Borrelli, who is the CEO at NCTC, and Grant Spellmeyer, who is representing the American Communication Association, ACA, and is CEO at ACA. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Glad to be here.
It's great to meet you guys. So can you briefly introduce NCTC and ACA Connects and describe the members you serve?
Sure. I'll go first. So the NCTC stands for National Content and Technology Cooperative. We've been in business for over 40 years. It started out the outcome of a poker game in Kansas City, where a group of mid-sized operators back then were looking to join together to create volume so they could negotiate better content deals with the programming networks. We've evolved over the years to also do hardware and software support. We've got IP transit and transport. We offer a mobile service now. We're developing AI opportunities for our members. We have a broadband TV over the internet product. Basically, we are the strategy, buying, and support services for over 650 members in the U.S. We serve all 50 states and U.S. territories and currently have roughly 40 million broadband customers across our network, which puts us in a third of all connected households in the U.S.
Those are impressive numbers.
Hard at it.
Good job.
They certainly are. Let me give you the ACA background as well. So I like to think of Lou as my older brother. He's been around, his association's been around a few more years. We started following the passage of the 92 Cable Act in Washington, D.C., and are sitting at about 33 years of activity, mainly focused in Washington. Many of my members are NCTC members as well, and we do a lot of joint work on a lot of projects. Our focus is in Washington, D.C. on representing the members and making sure that that policymakers in Washington understand the unique niche that we fill across all 50 states, as Lou said.
How many members are part of the ACA?
It's a little more than 500. So we're there's a lot of overlap, although it's not complete overlap. We've worked together over the years on many things, and the topics have changed over time as the industry has evolved from a completely entertainment focused video product to more broadband focused services as well.
Okay. So we have a lot to talk about today, and let's start with the Independent Show 2025. When is it? Where is it? What about it?
Well, it's coming up. It's August 10th to the 13th in Salt Lake City, Utah. Reaching New Heights is our theme for this year, playing off on our location in and around the mountains, as well as the home of the Olympics coming back to Utah. And I think it's 2032, if I'm not mistaken, but they're coming, the Winter Olympics. This is what I like to call the last great old school cable TV show that's standing. In the old days, when I grew up in the cable business, you'd have the national convention, a lot of big regional shows, and it would be both the content providers along with the technology and operations executives. Today, we're the only show that actually combines all of the network programming executives and all of the network vendors and partners. And it's a way for our members to reconnect and network amongst themselves, as well as to hear all about the new trends and the new business opportunities that the co-op is creating for them. And I'm happy that share the stage with my younger brother, whose swim lane is clearly in policy and what is going on in DC. And he actually knows everything that's going on there, so I'll let him explain that.
Yeah, definitely. Lots going on there. Not always good stuff, but we will dive into that later on. Hello, everyone. This is Adlan Fila. I'm a Chief Research Analyst at Maravidis. Maravidis is a boutique wireless infrastructure analyst firm since 2002. Of the last 2 decades, we have been helping customers with research, consulting, and marketing services. Some of the areas we cover include the convergence of Wi-Fi and cellular. In fact, we're known for our long-standing relationship with the Wireless Broadband Alliance, for which we have produced the industry annual report. We have 3 ways to work with us, from marketing essentials for startups to large custom projects. we can discuss those projects individually. And those are some of the customers we have helped in the past. So feel free to reach out to us to further discuss your research needs. Thank you. I wear several hats. One of them is technology. So is there a technology focus at this show in terms of connectivity?
Yeah, I mean, so yes, the short answer is yes. However, our tech it has a number of different variants. We talk a lot about broadband, managed Wi-Fi, a lot of connectivity type options. We are in the transit and transport business, and so we cover that as well. I would say, though, that our main focus this year is on our mobile service, as well as our AI Center of Excellence that we're developing so that members can actually incorporate AI into their businesses with fully vetted vendors and use cases. That is in development, and we're hoping to have that solidified once we get through pilot by early next year. I would say that that mobile and AI are probably our biggest focus. We do have a broadband TV product that is for broadband-only customers whose members have maybe opted out of the traditional bundled video. But, aside from that, there are over 100 booths, mostly technology and support and services vendors and partners that our members interact with. I mean, it's 2.5 to 3 days of great concepts. We have terrific keynotes with Evan Shapiro and Craig Moffett and Marcy Rosell. We have a marketing innovators group that has a whole program for the day, just the marketing executives of our member companies. And we have user groups for mobile, for Wi-Fi and others. And, that's the focus of the show, but Grant and his team also bring in lawmakers and policymakers and discuss everything that is going on in the regulatory field. I'll let him expand on that.
Yeah, we'll get into policy issues in a moment. So you mentioned AI. What main problems are you trying to solve with AI?
I'm not sure that there are problems to be solved. I think it's more about how can AI make you create a better customer experience? How can you better manage your network services? AI is essentially embedded in a lot of the things that our members are already doing, but to take it to the next level, to remain competitive and to be forward thinking, we're setting up an opportunity where members don't have to put up millions of dollars to stand up an AI initiative. We'll do that on behalf of our members and make it more affordable for them to go to market. We'll have a number of use cases that will be both network-based as well as operations and customer service-based. And we'll continue to refresh and update those. So, from where I sit, using an old analogy, we're trying to create options and opportunities for our members where the puck is headed, right? Not where it is, but where it's going. And so whether it's mobile or whether it's AI or broadband TV, we feel like that is something that the co-op can do on behalf of its members to prepare them better for future success.
Yeah, I like the collaborative approach to AI, which is something we don't see elsewhere. So, okay, let's now dive into the regulatory and policy themes at the show. There's a lot to talk about, from the One Big Beautiful Bill to CBRS spectrum, BEAD, net neutrality, you name it. Which one do you want to tackle first, Grant?
Well, it's lucky me. I get to think about them all on a regular basis, and I'd throw maybe in on top of that, things like state regulation of rates that we've seen going on in some places. But let's start with BEAD. BEAD is the large federal program adopted during the Biden administration to close the digital divide and bring broadband to the remaining Americans, the households that don't have it today. My members are very focused on that program. Unfortunately, there were a lot of delays late in the Biden administration in rolling that program out. And now with the change to President Trump and a new leadership at the Commerce Department, we've seen a number of changes to the program, most of which are very positive from my perspective. But it's led to a slight additional pause and a redo of each of the 50 states is out conducting additional bidding to reevaluate the best use of funds for the program. So we're going to talk to the members about that a lot. I think the timing of the show is particularly good because the states are evaluating the bids that have come in, and I think by September we're going to have a pretty good picture for where the program is headed. So I'd start there. If you had me focus on one issue, that would be it. Beyond that, obviously a lot has happened in Washington this year with the change of administration, the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a lot of stuff in there that is generally positive for our members. There's provisions, changes to the tax code on accelerated depreciation that are important to anybody who's in making a decision to invest in the deployment of fiber or other technologies in rural America. So we're going to go through those issues. There's a lot going on potentially in Washington for the remainder of this year and into next year. The chairman of the House Energy and Commerce Committee has started to talk about wanting to tackle a comprehensive rewrite of the 1992 Cable Act. That would be a large undertaking and one that we're supportive of. Most of the members of ACA Connects are pretty small and relative to the, let's call it the Comcasts and Charters and Coxes of the world. And they don't enjoy much in the way of market power and are at the mercy of the tech titans. And there's a lot of things that we'd like to do to improve the regulatory landscape in Washington.
Yeah. I do have a quick question in terms of when is the money coming? Is there any idea?
Well, I think you will see final awards from the Trump administration by the end of the year, which will mean that there will certainly be money flowing in 2026 in the states. Now, some states are going to move a little bit fast, maybe 6 months, 8 months ahead of other states. And so you may see money show up some places faster than others, but certainly I think money will be moving across the United States next year.
Okay. And what's your members' interest in the CBRS spectrum licensing?
Well, so I have some members that are very, very focused on CBRS. I've got members that own CBRS licenses. I certainly have members that utilize CBRS in the unlicensed portion of it. And so there's a lot of focus there. There's a lot of focus in the related issues related to Wi-Fi and 6 gigahertz. And, part of the One Big Beautiful Bill certainly restored auction authority to the FCC and is going to lead to a number of potential reviews of what to do with CBRS, what to do with 6 gigahertz, what to do with spectrum controlled by the Department of Defense, and relatedly down, I guess, the spectrum chart a little bit is the C-band, upper C-band satellite spectrum that's also going to undergo a review, and we're focused on that as well. The potential for a subsequent repacking of that C-band spectrum.
I know there are a lot of other aspects of policy that are in your desk. Which ones do you want to talk about today?
Well, we came into this year, one of my overriding goals was to make sure that we drove a stake through the heart of Title II rate regulation and net neutrality that had been adopted during the Biden administration. And of course, there's a whole 15-year history of that going back and forth. I think with the help of the courts and the nomination and confirmation of Chairman Carr and Commissioner Trusty that, we've successfully achieved that part of our agenda. We've seen some shift to focus on the state side in trying to adopt similar regulations. So we've been focused on that. There's been a lot of activity in places like the state of New York. I was very pleased. Last week, a couple weeks ago, we went to NTIA at the Department of Commerce and urged them to put a clear marker down that BEAD money was not going to go to states that engaged in state rate regulation, and no waivers were going to be granted. I was very pleased to see NTIA step out a couple of days ago and issue revised guidance that made that clear. So we're pushing back on those kind of things. Every dollar that my members are forced to set aside and devote to regulatory compliance is a dollar that's not there for technology investment and innovation. And so that's the message I carry pretty consistently to Washington.
Yeah, I heard you saying that, and I agree with you.
I guess the other thing that I've neglected to mention, because it's not always the most sexy topic, but and that's permitting reform. The actual nuts and bolts of getting local government approval to deploy broadband to places, and that's another high priority item for us. We're pleased that FCC Chairman Carr has started some additional dialogue and focus on that, and a number of proceedings at the FCC, and you're going to see us talk about that issue in Salt Lake City.
Lou, did you want to comment on any of those
Well, I
issues?
think that, Grant and his team do an excellent job of articulating the perspective of the small independent operators, because one of my tongue-in-cheek pet peeves when I talk to analysts and I talk to other folks that report on the industry is that they're writing about industry trends for only 3 or 4 companies that report publicly, and yet they present it as industry. It's really not, because a lot of what happens in the second and third tier markets in rural America don't exactly mirror what is going on in the larger companies' major markets. And, I would say that our membership is viable, it's vital. They're continuing to invest and expand their broadband offerings and service offerings. And so a lot of what Grant's team does and what Grant does on a personal level with all of the contacts he has is to adequately explain, quite passionately, I would say, that there is a whole nother part of the industry that is literally beholden to the large companies and the large tech firms and everything else that happens to be going on in Washington, because our voices aren't that loud, because our pocketbooks aren't that big. And so he's doing a great job of leveling the playing field. I started in the cable industry in '78. It was before the act. It was when local regulation really ruled the day, and you had to franchise individually and independently. And I've been through a number of regulation, deregulation, re-regulation. And I can tell you that it's messy. It isn't always productive, but I understand that that's the world we live in. And what we're trying to do now is make the best of it, not just for where we are today, but where we're headed. Yeah. And I really appreciate what ACA does, because their voice is critical to our members' success.
But by the way, your interests seem to be in line with the interest of, say, for example, WISPA, which are also smaller operators. How do you guys work together at all, or?
Yeah, so certainly on the policy side, we've worked with WISPA for a number of years in Washington. You can focus on the differences, like they're primarily, using wireless technology, and we're primarily using a fiber-driven or HFC product. But there's a lot more similarities than differences. It's a lot of, I'm going to use the phrase mom and pop, small business, serving a county or a part of a county in one location, as opposed to somebody who serves 3 states or 45 states. And when you have that prism through which you view things, there's a lot of similarity, and the team over there continues to do a really good job. So yeah, we collaborate on a lot of things, and I view them as an ally.
Okay, cool. I know we have a lot to talk about, but time is short, so we'll go to my last question here, which is kind of looking ahead. What kind of industry trends, developments do you anticipate that will impact independent service providers over the next few years?
I'll take a stab, although I'm famous for saying I don't have a crystal ball, but I have a pretty good idea. I would say that we're still in an evolving state, whether it's technology evolving, content creation and distribution evolving, even the workforce. And Grant talks about, sexy things like permitting. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of hurdles that our members have to jump over in order to just maintain. What we're both trying to do is to create an opportunity where they don't have to worry about maintaining, they can focus on growth. And so I think anything that enables our members and their customers to have a better experience with more value and higher quality is what we're looking for. And we continually search out for new and emerging technologies and service opportunities so that when our members get to the point where they're ready to deploy, we have a choice of solutions for them. And that's really what we focus on, is creating choices that put our members in the best position for success.
Thank you, Lou. You, Grant, final word?
No, I think Lou nailed it there. It continues to evolve. I'm struck by one of the topics we talked about earlier, AI and artificial intelligence. If you backed up 3 years ago, none of us were talking about it. And it's clearly taken center stage as one part of an evolution of the services and products that our collective members offer. And I think it's going to you're going to continue to see those changes every year. It seems like we're on the precipice of big change. And I think this year's no different. And I'm excited to get out to Salt Lake City and really spend some time talking with the members.
Excellent. Just a reminder, so the independent show, Reach New Heights, is taking place August 10 to 13 in Salt Lake City. So for the lucky ones who have the opportunity to attend, enjoy it, have fun. And I want to thank you, gentlemen, for your participation today to this new episode. To the audience, please like, subscribe, share, comment, and thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thank you.